You didn't know what to expect, so you got there and I guess you see Hollywood and you expect to hear a lot of noise, a lot of yelling, screaming, but everyone was just going about their business, doing their job. You know, the injured were quiet, the doctors were just doing what they had to do, the nurses doing what they had to do, and the quiet was quite surreal, to be quite honest with you. So on the morning of the Bali bombings, 6:30 in the morning, did my usual Bathurst ritual, get all the domestics done in the house before sitting down in front of the TV to watch the race. Probably mid-morning to late morning, I got a call from the CO asking me if I'd been drinking. It was a bit early in the day to start drinking, but I said no, and he said, well, make sure you don't, and pack a bag. You'll be heading north to take some supplies up to Darwin and on to Bali. We prepped the aeroplane, they loaded up the medical supplies, that took doctors, nurses and everyone who was going to assist up there, up to Darwin. We grabbed more people, more equipment in Darwin, then launched into the flight to land in Bali the early hours of the morning. For me, being non-medical, a bit surprising because we thought we'd just land, we'd have all these people ready to go to put onto the stretchers and take them home, and a lot of the time on the ground was spent waiting for people to be stabilised enough to air transport them home. I remember talking to one of the doctors at the time and just asked about what was the issue with the burns, and it was an enlightening moment, probably in a bad way, that the effect that burns have on the skin, not in the way that I thought. It was more about the toxic nature of it and the shock that they go into, and then the subsequent secondary effects that burns can have, particularly to 70–80% of the body. Like I said, we'd land, stretchers would be ready, we'd put them on, we'd go. But we were there for quite a few hours waiting for people to be stable enough to be air transported. So that was probably a reality check. The whole point of this role, you know, you do the military side of it, but then the humanitarian and aid is the stuff that really is rewarding. That's the stuff that, you know, you feel good about, because that's ultimately what we try to do the best of our ability. We can always go where civilian aircraft can't go, be it a war zone, be it wherever. We always find a way to get there, and we have the range, we have the capability, and we have the people who can do it. So yeah, that's our role. Probably the most confronting of all the humanitarian stuff that I experienced personally would have been Aceh. Flying over Aceh and the devastation was very confronting. Like, this went back hundreds and hundreds of metres, and there was literally just destroyed homes and destroyed lives. And I think taking food supplies, whatever we could, into that area was probably the one that stood out the most. I mean, it affected the most amount of people. And while we're on the ground, some foreign doctors, I think they were Dutch, came over to us and asked if we could medevac a little baby that had just been born back in a humidity crib. We were able to medevac it to a more substantial hospital, and reports we had later that day was the baby survived and was standing a good chance of surviving, so that was one of the good stories. We, in the defence, particularly in my game, we don't understand the impact that it does have on your family. It's selfish from my personal point of view, because I love doing what I do. So yes, it may be viewed as selfless outside of defence, but I love doing what I do, and I'm just so fortunate that my family support what I do, understand what I do, but I'd never stretch that support or understanding to the point where I'd break them, because at the end of the day, I don't have them, I have nothing, right? So they're the ones who wear the brunt of me doing what I do more than I probably really appreciate.